Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, an action-packed day. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com joins me, and Bob, there's a ton going on that we could talk about, but we're going to start with the Colts, and they got quarterback problems again. I don't think there's a franchise in the NFL that has they're heading towards Cleveland Browns territory. Quarterbacks fiascos, man.
Oh, Cleveland Browns, that lasted 20 years. This
hasn't stopped.
No, but it's only been since Andrew Luck retired. So it's only been 5 or 6 years. The way I look at it,
seems like 20.
I know. The way I look at it, though, is this is karma. This is somebody's getting back at us for 20 plus years of elite quarterbacking with Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. Now we got to find out how the rest of the world lives.
Yeah, Brian says he thinks that they've solved their problem.
No,
you put Joe. No, I think he's kind of kidding. But Joe Flacco, they would have another win at least if he had just been playing.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? Anthony was under an enormous amount of pressure the other day against Houston. And how would Joe Flacco have stood up to all that pressure? I mean, there were 9 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, could have been 10 sacks if Anthony didn't move as well as he does. So I don't know that I buy that necessarily, but okay.
He never gets tired, even at 39.
In fact, at 25 minutes after the hour, because I got to go, I'm going to do this.
All right. But for those of you that can't see, Bob tapping out.
I feel like the Colts tapped out on Anthony Richardson.
But how do you not after what he? How do you?
What do you mean? How does he not?
Leader, man.
He's the 4th pick in the draft. He's played only
have to send a message.
Games. He's played a full game only 5 times. Look.
This is starting to sound like a Colts problem for making this selection, to be honest with you.
Well, somebody failed miserably here, whether it was Ballard in selecting him or whether it was Steichen in trying to develop him. This is on the Colts. It's like when you hire somebody for a job, if they don't do the job well, often that's a reflection on the person who hired them because they weren't prepared to handle what's required in the job. And so, look, if Anthony fails, I don't put it on Anthony. Look, he screwed up by tapping out. That was a terrible mistake. Not getting out of bounds late in the game, I think it's a lack of experience. But I'm not ready to give up on this guy, and I hope the Colts aren't either.
I just think that this is going to be a constant churning of you're going to spend 3 years trying to get a guy to be something that you probably could have gotten not completely through the draft. Obviously, most guys take some learning, some experience, but he is not. I think this is a failure, and I don't think it's going to not be anything other than a failure. And then, so that it's only been 5 or 6 years, then it turns into 8, and now you're looking at a complete decade over failed, miserable decisions.
Well, look, if Anthony doesn't work out, that's a reflection on Steichen and Ballard. They had the fourth pick in the draft. They could have taken Will Levis, who's obviously no better. But so, I mean, there weren't a lot of options out there. I mean, Stroud and Bryce Young went before Anthony did. The thing is that Anthony is 22 years old. He played 13 games in college. He's got no experience, and they're throwing him in there. They handed him the job last year over Gardner Minshew, and he showed flashes last year. Has he showed him this year? No, he hasn't. But it's only been a couple of games, for God's sake. I mean, it's been less than half a season. He's played 10 games total in the NFL, 5 of which he finished. It's way too early to make a decision like this. Way too early, in my view.
I don't disagree with that, but I think it was way too early to make the decision they made to begin with, and now they're just hoping, praying to whatever they can pray to that they get out of this, because they're going to look like the Cleveland Browns if they're not careful. But
yeah,
that's not the case. Indiana has some better fortunate quarterback, as it appears that they're going to have Kurtis Rourke back. There's nothing that's been announced, but the winds are blowing in that direction, which means I'm assuming that obviously he's not completely healthy, but he's healthy enough that he can play. And you could tell by watching the offense last week, not that Taven Jackson did a bad job, but that offense was not as fluid. It did not. No. They punted more times in that game than they have at any time. Hell, I think they punted more times in the first half than they have in many games. But there were just so many times where they were not getting those sustained drives that they normally get under Kurtis Rourke.
No, I mean, look, Kurtis is a real deal. He's the guy. It's just funny to me that Indiana wins a game by 13, 14 points against, a decent Washington team that was in the finals last year, and we're sitting there saying, yeah, but they punted a lot. It just shows you how far Indiana football has come, and I'm enjoying.
They only beat the reigning national runner-up 31-17. That's
exactly. So I mean, that's where we are with Indiana football, and it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. And now the Hoosiers travel to East Lansing this week for a game that is probably going to be a little more challenging than people realize, because while Michigan State is a 500 team, I think they're sitting at 4-4 right now, but they have a quarterback that is I asked Curt Cignetti earlier in the week, what is something that Michigan State brings that they haven't really been challenged by this year? And I think the answer to this is the quarterback. This is a guy that is probably the most dangerous as a runner that they have faced this season. And he's not a great passer, but you have got to be aware of him at all times, because if he gets out in space, and he can pile up some yardage.
Well, we're going to find out just how well they deal with success, because you look at the schedule, you got Michigan next week, Michigan, right?
Following week, yes.
Following week. So, I mean, it's funny to talk about Indiana football and talking about a possible trap game, but I mean, this could be a trap game. But I just think that they are so well coached and so focused on the task at hand. I don't think they're going to have a hard time with Michigan State. I don't know the line. Maybe you
7.5.
7.5? Oh, they'll roll them by more than that.
Oh, I think that with Taven Jackson. So yeah, I'm not. I think we're so used to them just kicking the crap out of people.
I know. What?
I mean, just kicking the ever-loving crap out of people.
I know.
It's a crazy time, but I've been on, like you do. I do a lot of other people's shows, and the question I keep getting is this a flash in the pan? And I'm like, are you out of your mind? No, it's not like he had this influx of 5-star talent that came in and he's winning with. He's doing this with guys that nobody wanted. So no, it's not a flash in the pan. Wait till he.
What was the stat you told me the other day about 0-star guys?
44 roster players that had 0 stars coming out of high school. 44.
That's coaching.
Exactly. And so what the hell is it going to be like when he does have those 5- and 4-star players on that roster?
Right. And if they continue to win the way they are, that's going to come. It's always a chicken and egg proposition when it comes to getting quality players in, but they've shown they can win with talent that isn't all that great, not great natural talent, but they've coached the hell out of them. And boy, they don't make too many mistakes. I mean, they made a couple the other day. I thought Taven was just okay, but boy, they just don't beat themselves very often. And when they do, have turnover issues like they did against Maryland, they still find a way to kick butt.
Last thing before you go, I know you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Pat Knight comes back to Assembly Hall tomorrow night with the Marion Knights.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I played in a golf tournament with him just not so long ago. Anyway, I don't know if he's a good golfer or not. I know that I am not. But yeah, that's great for Pat. I'm glad he's back in the coaching game.
Absolutely. Well, we'll catch up more about that next week. All
right, sounds good. I'm sorry I got to roll on you.
It's okay. We love you. Appreciate you. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Make sure you go there and get your complete coverage of all things that are Colts, Pacers, Fever. We'll talk about the Fever firing Christy Sides as well. So all of that and more when Bob comes back next week. Thanks, Bob. We appreciate you.